You can raise a child to value $1 without making them struggle for it.
Whatever. Use whatever fucking vocabulary you want to use. Struggle, adversity, whatever. Trials and tribulations, whatever the fuck you want to use. Long story short, I'm not rolling the red carpet for you. So whatever word you want to use to describe that, whatever. All I'm saying is, as a parent, I'm not rolling the red carpet for you.
You don't get to brag about bare minimum parenting. You don't get to give.
Has anyone else noticed that when an adult child chooses to not have a relationship with a parent, it's always, but she's your mom, but he's your dad. You only have one dad, you only have one mom.
Hey besties. Today, I want to dive into a really important topic that might hit close to home for some of us. Toxic parenting, specifically the idea of making your child struggle because you did. Ever heard someone say, I had it tough, so you should too? Yeah, that's what we're going to unpack. We're talking about breaking generational cycles of hardship and asking some hard questions about how to truly support our kids without imposing our own experiences onto them. So, let's settle in and let's get real.
You can raise a child to value $1 without making them struggle for it.
Whatever. Use whatever fucking vocabulary you want to use. Struggle, adversity, whatever. Trials and tribulations, whatever the fuck you want to use. Long story short, I'm not rolling the red carpet for you. So whatever word you want to use to describe that, whatever. All I'm saying is, as a parent, I'm not rolling the red carpet for you. I don't give a fuck how much
you be one of those parents that I went through it, so you got to go through it too. That's the kind of parent you're going to be. Not
Goddamn right.
Not me. And good thing you're not a parent yet.
Goddamn
because
right.
that is a horrible way of thinking when it comes to raising children. Your children's going to grow up to hate your ass. I'm telling you now.
So
children
what?
will grow up and resent you and hate you because you made them struggle unnecessarily.
You grew up with a roof over your head, food in your stomach, clothes in your body.
No, children need more than that. Children need more than that. And the reason, and I know you're gonna come at me for yelling, but when it comes to kids, I'm passionate about that shit because a lot of our parents fucked us up, and I don't think it's fair for us to turn around and give that to our kids. No, you're not okay, nigga. You be on here going off every damn episode. You're not okay.
There's so much things to unpack in this video, but the first thing I'm gonna say automatically, be careful who you choose to have kids with. The fact that she said your kids will grow up to hate you and he said, so what? Already speaks for itself. You're sitting there listening to bare minimum, clothes on your back, food on the table, roof over your head. Kids need more than that to mentally survive, to physically survive. Kids need more than that to thrive. And this is why there's a lot of broken people in the world. I've heard so many young people have kids and be like, oh, I'm having them young because once they turn 18, that's it. I'm good. Like, I'm good. It doesn't stop when they turn 18, and I don't have to have kids to know that. The love should not stop at 18. The lesson should not stop at 18. The help, it should not stop at 18. Like, y'all mindsets are so fucking broken and so selfishly made. That's why I said I said I'm not gonna have no kids. I'm 23 years old. I said I'm not gonna have no kids because I know I'm selfish. And me saying I'm selfish about my time. I'm selfish about my paycheck. I'm selfish about my love. And I know right now I only have enough to give to me. So until I'm ready to share it, I'm not gonna have kids because I'm not gonna put my kids in no harm's way. I'm not gonna fuck up my child mentally because I'm selfish right now and I don't want to share anything with them. Because once I have kids, everything I own is going to go to them. Everything I work for is going to be for them. How you build yourself a gated community and lock your children out. So because you had to struggle, because you didn't grow up with a good parent, you're gonna treat your child the same way? Why have kids then? Just don't have kids, period. And I'm also very passionate about this topic because I've seen people lose patience with their kids. I've seen people choose a man over their kids. I've seen people give their kids up because they had children for all the wrong reasons. Because they weren't ready to have kids in the first place. You are raising the next generation of people. Everything starts from home. Everything they learn starts from home. So to have that mindset is so disgusting to me. And I hope a man like that never finds my path, never crosses my path. So help me God.
Oh my God, I would never help my child out. I would never lay out the red carpet for my child. I would make them struggle just like me. Now, I'll be honest. Sometimes I could look back at a video and be like, you know what? I could have delivered this message better. But sometimes when y'all put these mics and you hit record, I think y'all just want to say something to go viral so that check can come through. And I'm not mad at you. Because there's no way in the world You gonna honestly think people gonna believe that if you had bread and or you were doing more than well for yourself, that you wouldn't create the best possible life for your child? I think we all grew up and then had those moments and thoughts and said, damn, if I had a child and I was doing well, I would give my child everything. I wouldn't want my child to struggle for anything, because for why? Why would I make my child go through the same things that I may have went through as a kid? And like I said, my delivery ain't always the best. My tone ain't always the best. But there's some things where we can just be honest up.
First off, let's define what we mean by "I struggled, so you have to too." This mindset often comes from parents who went through difficult times, maybe financial hardship, lack of support, or other tough circumstances. Instead of trying to create a better life for their kids, they unintentionally pass on that same hardship. It's almost like they believe their struggles were a rite of passage, and they want their kids to experience that too, believing it'll make them stronger. But is that actually fair or beneficial? So why do parents adopt this mindset? Well, it often stems from how they were raised and a lack of healing from their own past. When someone grows up struggling and doesn't have the tools to process those experiences, they can carry that baggage forward. There's also this belief in tough love, where enduring hardship is seen as the only way to learn resilience. For some, it's about control, thinking that they know what's best based on their own life. But what worked for one generation may not work for the next.
Who was the first person who taught you your feelings don't matter? Oh, that's easy. My parents. What could you possibly be stressed about? Why are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about. Fix your face before I fix it for you. Oh, that boy never loved you. You'll be fine.
Every time I come on this app and I talk about the expense of children, people be like, oh, let people be fruitful, make people live them life. But this is it, right? Our young girls that are coming up, they need to know what motherhood actually is. Like, I'm very grateful to be a mom. I am honored to be a mom to my daughter. And if I didn't have the luxury to be like, I'm going to drop my daughter off at a babysitter because I can afford it, so I could have a day to myself, is very important. Not a lot of people have the help. Not a lot of people have the village, and some people have to pay for that village. So what happens when you cannot pay for that village? And again, kids are very expensive. Come on to buying stuff for them. But also, imagine, you have to deal with motherhood itself, right? Kids can be overwhelming, overstimulating, right? Imagine you're dealing with all that and you're broke on top of that. And nobody come out. Tell me, and nobody come out. You're dealing with every other thing that comes with being a mom and being broke on top of it too. That not make no sense. Cause guess what? When the mom gets overstimulated, right, and she is overwhelmed and everything that is over, who is she gonna take out these problems on? The kids, the people who are around her. That's what's going to happen. So it's important for me to come on this app and state that make sure, try your best to see if you're financially stable enough to be like you can take care of yourself and a child. If you can't afford to take care of yourself, why do you think you can afford to take care of a child? That me want know. So I will never stop coming on this app and share what it actually like to be a mom. And again, not a lot of people have the village, and some people have to pay for the village. So again,
wondering if any of this sounds familiar? Here are some signs of toxic parenting tied to this mindset. Parents might criticize their child for needing help, dismiss their child's struggles as nothing compared to their own, or withhold support, thinking it'll build character. Some even undermine their child's accomplishments, seeing them as too easy or unearned. These actions can leave kids feeling invalidated and like they're never enough, which is the last thing any parent should want for their child. One reason this mindset gets passed down is generational trauma. If parents didn't heal from their own struggles, they may unconsciously push those struggles onto their kids. Think about it. If you grew up with hardship and no one showed you a different way, it can be hard to recognize that there is a different way. Generational cycles of trauma run deep, but the good news is that we can break them. It starts with being aware and questioning these old beliefs. Let's talk about the impact. When parents put this kind of pressure on kids, it can lead to all sorts of issues: low self-esteem, anxiety, even resentment. Think about it. Kids aren't learning to be strong through healthy, supportive guidance. They're being pushed to struggle unnecessarily. They may end up feeling unsupported or misunderstood. Plus, It creates this mindset where children start believing that hardship is a requirement for growth, rather than a potential obstacle to overcome with support. It's like conditioning them to think they're only valuable if they can handle life alone, which is really damaging. We hear a lot about tough love as if it's some golden rule for parenting. But here's the thing, there's a difference between teaching resilience and making someone struggle to prove a point. Tough love doesn't mean making things harder, just because you had it hard. True resilience is about learning how to cope, adapt, and grow in a supportive environment. If a child feels that they're facing constant obstacles alone, it's easy for them to feel isolated, like their parent is more of a drill sergeant than a guide or ally.
You don't get to brag about bare minimum parenting. You don't get to guilt trip me with the fact that you fed me, kept a roof over my head, or clothes on my back, but then again, some kids don't even get that. So thank you for doing just enough to make sure I didn't end up dead. Newsflash, I didn't ask to be here, but sometimes you still made me feel guilty, so thank you for doing just enough to stay out of jail. I mean, you're required by law to take care of me, but there's more to parenting. Did you uplift me when I failed? This isn't about not having enough shoes or toys. It's more so about how anytime I tried to voice an opinion or express myself, you saw it as just noise. I was a child who only had the right to be quiet. Now I'm an adult who, instead of opening up and expressing my feelings, I prefer silence. And I didn't need you to be one of my little friends. I needed guidance. I ignored so many life lessons. You were right about so many things. I'm not saying I would have been perfect, but I would have heeded more warnings if only you had worked on your delivery. But no, it was a toxic household full of yelling and disrespect. You made toxicity normal to me. Calling me out of the name that you gave me, isn't that crazy? I was a child. I didn't need to learn from my mistakes. I needed you to do everything possible to save me. I don't mind that one. Honestly, it taught me to only depend on myself. I was a child who needed saving. Now I'm an adult who hates asking for help. I wish you would have taught me about healthy love. Instead, I have attachment issues and crave affection because we barely hug. Why didn't you warn me about narcissists? Or what type of person was worth waiting for? And the fact is, you probably won't have the answer when I ask this, but why didn't you say I love you more? Honestly, I truly don't even blame you. Because when you were a kid, no one saved you, so you took what you knew and made do. You're still my superhero. Those were just a few things I needed you to hear. So with that said, I appreciate all your sacrifices, all the working doubles and long nights. I don't know how you managed to stay sane. And I'm grown now, so I no longer use you or my childhood to blame, but understand, even though I love you to death, we will never parent the same.
I just saw a girl's video that her stitches were off, but she was talking about how if she was an adult that had children, she doesn't know how those adults can have other friends who are adults who are like, oh yeah, like my kids don't speak to me. Because like it takes a lot for like a grown child not to speak to their parents anymore. And like the plot twist is that like a lot of those people are those people. Like it's like they would be the awful people that like the grown children wouldn't speak to. And so I think what she was saying is like it would be just so foreign to her of like having somebody who's like, oh yeah, my grown kids don't speak to me, blah, 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 because she would be somebody who would actually take care of their kids and like nourish that relationship and like let it blossom. And the plot twist is it's like the people who don't support their kids or be like, oh, my kids don't speak to me, I don't know why, blah, blah, blah. All of those people find each other because they're the worst people out there. And it ties into another video that I saw of a guy talking about how when kids and parents both say that they like don't speak to each other anymore, that he always takes the side of the kid because he believes, and I believe, that like it's the responsibility on the parent to create that relationship, like literally build it from day zero to facilitate it and create a healthy environment with said child up until adulthood and beyond. And like I think a lot of people that just have kids and just like don't realize that they're actually having a human being don't realize that like I remember most of the shit that happened to me. And it's like being a conscious individual, almost 25 years old, knowing now that like the shit that they did as parents, it's like you were just as functioning, I would hope, than I am now currently, seeing that the choices that you made, how is there no thought? I have thought. I don't, and it's like, I don't understand how parents can get to a point of like, oh, I don't understand. Like, why don't my kids speak to me? It's like, Susan, Karen, you know exactly why your kids don't fucking speak to you. It's like, oh wait, you fucking traumatized them as kids. Oh, when they came to you as adults and be like, hey, this actually hurt me and like, let's actually foster a relationship and like, let's move past that. Let's like heal from that. It's whoa, I'm on my own journey, I'm on my own time, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, so you know exactly why. And it's like, as soon as I hear that people do that, or their grown kids don't speak to them, it's like, red flag, no. And I think too, like, it's not addressed, like, how hard and traumatizing it is to like distance yourself from your parents. It's like your whole safety net stability that you were supposed to be given, it's like, oh, you didn't get it, one, and two, it's like you'll never get it, so you have to just let it go. It's like that's awful.
Resilience is essential, but it doesn't have to be taught through hardship alone. You can teach kids to be resilient in ways that don't involve unnecessary struggle. Resilience comes from learning how to handle life's inevitable challenges, but it doesn't mean parents need to create artificial challenges. Instead, kids can learn resilience through guided problem-solving, emotional support, and encouragement to try new things. This way, they learn to face adversity when it naturally comes up, not because it's been forced on them. Some parents resist the idea of making life easier for their kids because they think it'll make them soft or entitled. They worry their child won't learn the value of hard work. But here's the thing. Providing support doesn't mean kids won't understand hard work. It means they'll understand hard work with guidance and encouragement, not through unnecessary struggle. In reality, supported kids are often better equipped to handle challenges because they feel secure in who they are and know they have a strong foundation to lean on.
Has anyone else noticed that when an adult child chooses to not have a relationship with a parent, it's always, but she's your mom, but he's your dad. You only have one dad, you only have one mom. And it's never, wow, what could a parent do to cause their child to make this decision? Or it's never, but they're your children. How could you treat your children that way? Why is it that the responsibility of the relationship is placed on the child?
No one ever wants to talk about this. Going no contact with the parent, or hell, even going low contact with the parent, is not something that people just do. That's not an easily made decision. It never has been. Like, anytime that I make any video about my mother, I will always get a comment from somebody that's like, well, I'm sure it wasn't that bad. You should just, talk to her. And it's like, you think I didn't already do that? You think I didn't try that already? You think we hit one bump and I was like, fuck you, bitch, just forever? What y'all have to understand is I never had a father. So my mother, that was my only parental figure. For me to make the decision to cut off the only parent I ever had when I already didn't have one, literally deciding to not have anything to do with both individuals that participated in creating me. That is an insane thing to do. And that is only done when that child has lived an insane life. A parent has to fuck you up bad in order for a child to finally be like, I don't want anything to do with them anymore. We love our parents. We do not want to be away from them. We do not want to go low contact or go no contact with them. That's not what we want to do. It got to the point to where it was either that parent or our sanity. And so we chose our sanity. And I know why it is. It's because people have so much more sympathy for the parents than they ever do for the children. It's always the children are ungrateful and never the parent just fucking sucks. But oddly enough, people can all of a sudden understand the concept of a bad parent when that parent murders their child. Then they're like, oh, well, some people just don't need to be parents. Yeah, my mom was one of them. I'm just still here to tell the story. That's why you don't care yet. Because if I'm still alive, obviously it just wasn't that bad.
Anybody else think it's wild that you can grow up with emotionally neglectful parents and reach adulthood and all of a sudden they are emotionally needy themselves? Like, they literally expect you to meet their emotional needs and be their emotional support child when they never actually taught you how to do that. And you are actively trying to heal yourself from the experience of the childhood with them as your parents. How does that even make sense?
Let's get specific here. Say a child is struggling with schoolwork. A toxic approach might be, figure it out on your own, I didn't have anyone helping me either. A supportive approach would be, let's figure this out together. I know it's tough, but I'm here to help. Do you see the difference? The supportive approach validates the struggle without forcing the child to bear it alone, creating an environment where they can actually learn and grow. Kids who grow up in this environment often carry those feelings into adulthood. They may struggle with asking for help, feel they have to bear everything alone, or even have difficulty trusting others. They might think they're unworthy of support or feel guilt for needing help. This can lead to patterns of self-isolation, even in friendships and relationships, because they're so used to dealing with everything on their own. Breaking this cycle is possible, but it takes self-awareness. Parents need to recognize that while their struggles helped shape them, it doesn't mean their child needs to go through the same. It's okay to create a different path for your child. In fact, it's healthy. Instead of forcing them to repeat the past, think of how you can use your experiences to provide a more supportive and balanced approach to parenting.
What I hate about being the child of emotionally immature parents is that the times I stand up for myself when I get empowered to not take the shit, they usually don't feel good. It doesn't feel good after to defend myself against my parents, especially as an adult. I'm fucking grown. And I'm saying this because I don't think I'm the only person dealing with it. As many of us talk about having emotionally immature parents, abusive parents too. I want to add that, like, it doesn't feel good to protect yourself from your parents. And eventually, I know it's better in the long haul, and immediately it's better to stand up for myself, stick by my side, and take care of me. But the reality of this shit is, it is very fucking painful for me, and it does not feel like I just did a good thing. It feels like, geez.
Not one single lie told here. I'm not the outcome you hoped for, but I'm exactly the daughter that you raised. For a large chunk of my life, I shouldered a lot of guilt over the fact that I was routinely advised that I was the family disappointment, and really internalized that. For context, I'm the firstborn daughter in a Nigerian household, send help. And I had also shown a lot of academic promise up until I was no longer showing that academic promise due to what I now understand to be serious burnout. I was routinely faced with that statement, "You're not the daughter I raised." Except that I am the daughter they raised. Their methods to getting the outcomes that they hoped for were backwards and oftentimes defied logic. For example, they wanted me to be someone who could stand up for myself in any room and speak up for myself when it mattered, except that when I did that in the home, it wasn't taken very well. Even this stage of my life where I'm actively working on healing from them, is a direct result of how they chose to raise me. Funnily enough, the more I have healed, the more comfortable I have become with being the disappointment to my parents, with not being the outcome that they hoped for. Because the outcome that they hoped for didn't have me in mind. It had in mind what they wanted for themselves through me. And I'm not willing to be that for anyone. And I genuinely, moving forward, I hope that I continue to be a disappointment to any and everyone whose expectations of me do not allow space for me.
So, what can you do instead? Focus on building emotional resilience through support and encouragement. When your child faces challenges, be there to guide them through, offering advice, encouragement, and comfort. This teaches them that challenges can be faced with support, that it's okay to ask for help, and that they're not alone. These lessons are far more valuable than simply being thrown into the deep end to learn to swim alone. A great way to start breaking this cycle is to shift from a hardship mindset to a growth mindset. Instead of thinking, "I went through this, so you should too," try thinking, "I learned from this experience. How can I help you learn in a healthy way?" Parenting with a growth mindset means focusing on your child's potential rather than making them relive your struggles.
I'm going to ruffle a few feathers with what I'm about to say, but that's okay. We family, it's all love. Your kids don't owe you shit. Nothing pisses me off more than to hear a parent say, "Do you know what I sacrificed? Everything I gave up for you." Well, number one, I could have stayed in my daddy nutsack. That's the first thing. Number two, I didn't ask to be here. And number three, did you think parenthood was going to be easy? I know parenthood is hard. I'm just thinking about everything that comes with it. Stress, heartache, heartbreak. You got to be a teacher. You got to be a chef. You got to be a therapist. You got to be a coach. It's so many things. So there's no way that any parent today thought that being a parent was going to be easy prior to actually having kids. My granny used to always say, "See, y'all young girls got it easy because if you don't want kids these days, you ain't got to have them because y'all got options." But let me explain something to you. Stop blaming your kids for how your life didn't turn out. Stop thinking that once your kids grow up and turn 18 and lead and then start making their own real money, that they got to come back and pay you in some kind of way. That's not how life works. That's not reality. Your job as a parent is to raise them up to be decent human beings. Anything that happens after they leave your home and fly out of your nest is not your responsibility. But that does not mean that their responsibility turns on them and now they're responsible for you. Now, I'm not talking about the kids that grow up and they have sick parents, or our parents get old and we're tending to them. That's a given. That's the job of a child. I'm talking about the parents who have kids that grow up and always have to be reminded of what their parents gave up for them. Don't nobody want to keep hearing that. And no, this is not me bashing, parents, saying y'all bad parents. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is try to understand that your child don't need to hear everything that you sacrifice. Your child knows that because of you, they had a good life. They saw what you sacrificed. You think your kids don't see what you sacrifice? Everything is not hidden from your children. Your kids are going to grow up and know and thank you and understand that you did a great job. But they don't have to continue to be reminded of it. The shit is annoying and it's toxic. Like, break that curse.
Validation is crucial. A child who feels validated learns that their feelings and experiences matter. Even if you think their struggle seems minor compared to what you went through, acknowledge it as real and important. Say things like, I see this is hard for you, and I'm here. Validation doesn't make them weak. It actually empowers them by giving them a foundation of emotional security. Encourage independence, but do it with support. Rather than forcing them to face things alone, help them develop problem-solving skills. Let them try things on their own, but be ready to step in if they need guidance. It's a balance, letting them know they have the freedom to explore, make mistakes, and grow while reassuring them they have a safety net.
I don't know who this is for, but if you're between the ages of 20 to 30, you need to stop listening to your parents. If you're like me and you came from an African household, then you all know the struggles that we've gone through as children. If you're weak, your parents will control your life. Parents have this ideal way that they believe their children should live their life. And if given this opportunity, they'll capitalize on this. They'll control who you make friends with, what school you go to, what degree you study, and even who you should marry. I've been saying this for a long time, but parents want to live vicariously through their children. For instance now, let's say your dad's ambition was to become a doctor when he was younger, and for whatever reason, he wasn't able to achieve that goal. What he'll want to do now, is he'll try to convince you or encourage you to become a doctor, just so he can live out that ambition through you. Or it might literally just be a shame thing, because most of our parents, let's be honest, they care about what other people think about them and their parenting style. Now, if you try and do what you want, we already know what will happen. Aunties and uncles will come to you and say, oh, you're being disrespectful, or you're disobeying, you can't talk to your parents like this, or you need to think about your parents. Listen, I'm a firm believer that we ought to honor our parents because that's what the Bible says here. I do not believe that we should disrespect our parents, but let's be honest, there must be a line drawn here between what is considered disrespecting and you just living your life as an adult. I say this to people who are currently going through this. You need to take a stand and live your life according to your purpose. Because what will happen is if you don't live your life according to your purpose, you're going to live to regret it. And that regret, can easily turn into resentment towards your parents. And that will be a tragedy. You need to understand that your parents can't hold your hand forever throughout this life. When you were in school and you were writing your exams, did your parents write it for you? No. When you go to work and you do your job, do your parents come to work to do your job for you? No. So that will tell you that most things in this life rely solely on you and you alone. So once again, I highly recommend anyone between the ages of 20 to 30, if you're going through this, sit down with your parents, have a conversation with them, because most things can be settled with effective communication. But if you've had the conversation and they're still not trying to hear what you're trying to say, well, you've done your part and you need to do what you need to do. And you guys might think I'm crazy for putting the age range up to 30, but there are people who are 30 and even in their 30s that are still dancing to mommy and daddy's tune. So guys, please take hold of your life and live a glorious life, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the one that's going to live to regret if you don't live it to its fullest.
Besties, parenting is a journey, and it's okay to want better for your child than what you had. Remember, resilience doesn't have to come from suffering alone. It can come from healthy support, encouragement, and teaching our kids that they're capable and worthy. Let's aim to break the toxic cycles and create a space where kids can learn resilience without unnecessary struggle. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let's keep raising emotionally strong, supported kids.